As we see that playing out, the context was this debate, this New York Times report that said a Parkinson's specialist had visited the White House repeatedly over a period of time. But what's the dynamic right now in the briefing room with the media and with the White House?
I think it's very tense, honestly, because obviously the White House is on defense after that disastrous debate performance. They want to strengthen the president's position, to shore him up. The media has the scent in its nostrils of real trouble for the president. And there's this issue now about the Parkinson's specialist that you alluded to. He's been there several times over 8 months. Was he there to see the president? That's really what we want the answer to. We haven't got that yet.
There are certainly many things, many questions the public has about what's happening at the White House, what is known, what is not known. Are there medical issues at play here? And I think, you know, it's one thing for the media to say, hey, we're not getting these answers, you're not answering our questions, but these are questions and conversations being had throughout the country right now.
Yeah, and I think that's really important. I also think really that's one of the reasons why the age issue is honestly so damaging for President Biden. It's not all about partisanship or saying one person would be better than the other politically. It's that the behaviour that he exhibits is familiar to very, very many of us who have had older relatives, you know, struggle with some of these issues. Now, I'm not diagnosing them. What I'm saying is it's a familiarity for a lot of people.
Well, we had this discussion, too, during the Trump era, which came down to that person, woman, man, camera discussion. Were you having neurological exams, too? So these are things that we have seen before. It's just becoming more pronounced, especially with, as you said, the debate performance. This against the backdrop of what's happening right now within the Democratic Party, with more lawmakers today saying the president should step aside. And does it seem at the White House, it doesn't seem like there's a cohesive message right now coming out?
No, I think that is a criticism. Now, they have tried to get on offense a little more today. President Biden wrote this open letter to Democratic members. He called in virtually to a meeting of members. But really, there has been a long period that has just enabled this Democratic panic to spread, and I don't think that has been stemmed successfully.
You mentioned the letter. He called into Morning Joe today, a letter and a phone call. Why, aside from George Stephanopoulos, what has stopped this White House from putting the president on camera in front of a live audience or in front of a live interviewer?
Well, there's no definitive answer to that has been delivered. Now, they do allude to the fact that in this week's NATO summit, the president is expected to give a news conference on Thursday. But everyone suspects that the real answer to your question, Jim, is they're worried about another gaffe that would be catastrophic given the flimsiness of his overall position.
You know, just one little misstep, too, is going to be magnified eons beyond that.
Exactly, because people are now looking for that all the time. I have mixed up names in my time, but people aren't looking for it, and I'm not trying to be president of the United States either. But there is this real scrutiny all over everything he says now.
You know, looking at on the world stage right now, you mentioned about the NATO summit, and clearly you would imagine the White House wants to present this unified front through it. So I know we're not talking with you through the politics of it all, but clearly this is something that you want to at least project some sort of stability when you have dozens of world leaders in the president's backyard.
Right, and there is, to be fair, an opportunity of a kind there for the president to position himself on the world stage as a global leader, underlining America's prestige still in multilateral organizations like NATO. The problem comes back to what we said a moment ago. If there's a mistake, if there's a verbal stumble, then the whole calculus changes.
I want to get your take on where things stand politically, though, in the U.S. Against the backdrop of what we're seeing playing out around the world right now. We saw in the UK, we saw the Labour Party take over. We saw a center-left coalition win in France, and a lot of people are saying, well, are there signs, are there indications that we can take away from what's happening in Europe as to what might coming down the pike in the U.S.? Is there a parallel there, or is this just grasping at straws?
I think the parallel there is possibly sort of an anti-incumbent or anti-establishment thing. In the UK, for example, the Conservatives had been in power for 14 years. That fact alone was maybe the main reason why they were thrown out. In France, there's this issue about, like, the far left has done slightly better than the far right. But the middle, the president's party, hasn't done very well at all.
And by the way, we have not heard really much from Donald Trump over the last week or so. I think there's the Napoleon statement, let your opponent make the mistakes and sit back and take advantage of that.
100%. Stay quiet and watch the Democrats in trouble.
There it is. Niall Standish, good to see you again, my friend.
Pleasure.
Thank you for coming in. And the Final Five is back right for this.
Wrapped up like a douche. direction of the road.